Kultured Kast has been created for entertainment and educational purposes. The advice given are opinions of our host and not of medical advice. The podcast is not a substitute for direct, personalized, professional medical care and diagnosis. Exercises and dietary advice mentioned should be discussed with your physician or personal trainer to find out what is best for you.
You want to get fit? How about Ultra Fit? Come grab your Ultra Fit meals at Athletic Culture. You'll love it.
This episode of Kultured Kast is made possible by Paul Sadlin Motors, your local Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Cadillac dealer on Bayfield Street in Barrie and online at paulsadlin.com.
All right, welcome back to episode 14 of the Kultured Kast with our guest, Dr. Chris Grant. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the podcast. Let me know if I miss anything or if I do anything wrong when I'm intro here. But
He does a lot wrong.
Yeah, I do.
Your name. I'm surprised you got your name right to start.
Both of you fuck off. Right? So I am getting old. My birthday next month.
Yeah, he's getting
Wilfred Laurier honors phys ed and kin.
Yep.
Correct. Graduated magna cum laude from the 2016 class of CMCC, which is Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College.
Yep.
Team doctor for track and field cycling, mountain bike nationals, wakeboard nationals, and on the medical team for the North American, Central American, and Caribbean track and field championships.
Yeah, over the years.
Good,
yep.
good so far. All right. You also are affiliated with local organizations like Simcoe Dufferin Track and Field, the Barrie Rugby Club, Lakehead University Athletics programs, right? You're an author, you're a public speaker. Your clinic offers active release therapy, acupuncture, dynamic neuromuscular stabilization, and then obviously your chiropractic practice, right?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Got a lot going
You're
on.
rolling
right?
so far.
You got a lot going on.
So Jake is no longer the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your history and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I'm from this area. So I grew up just north of Barrie, went to Wilfred Laurier. Kind of thought I was going to go into either like physiotherapy, sports medicine, maybe even teaching. Like chiropractic wasn't on the radar for me. And then I was working at the biomechanics lab there, and there was a chiropractor who was doing his sports specialization there at the same time. So he's like, "Oh, you should come see what I do in practice," kind of thing. So I was shadowing him for a little while, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. Like, this is basically what I want to do for my career."
Yeah.
So I ended up applying to chiropractic college, got in, and then went down the avenue of sports chiropractic specialization, and always wanted to come back to Barrie. So that's what's brought me here.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank God.
Right. Well, I should say, because we try to, one of my prep sheets is what's the relation to Corey and Jeff, right? So I wrote down that you're obviously Jeff's chiropractor, and your relationship with Corey is he wants to know how to build bigger legs. So we're going to have to touch on that sometime today.
He just wants to be able to touch his toes.
Yeah, I mean, we got a couple of things we can help there. I was thinking on the way here, I was watching one of your videos a long time ago where they were rolling the weights and see whose butt could catch it. And yeah, Corey, sorry.
Yeah, the fact
that's not because I'm not seeing a chiropractor.
but your immobility to even lie flat. Had you been able to lie flat, it would have went right over your head.
Oh God, yeah, it'd still be rolling.
Oh yeah.
It'd still be rolling.
Trust me, I know the problems. I know all about them.
You just choose, like last episode, you just choose not to address them.
Yeah, we just don't address. I mean, if you don't talk about them, they just go away.
They just go away, just like your
so
legs.
This ties in great with the last intro episode.
Yeah. And we, you know what? Sorry to take your time away, but we were just talking about how you did legs for the first time this year in 2023, and you collapsed getting out of a chair.
Yeah.
What, an hour later.
Yeah.
No lesson to be learned there, pal.
Yeah. No. Lesson. we just live and learn, and sometimes we don't even learn.
So with your experience with elite athletes, you were a rugby player too, right?
Yeah, I played rugby in university.
Okay, I'm going to guess wing.
Yep,
Okay.
you got it.
Like one of the points I wrote down is I believe elite athletes need elite medical care and guidance.
Yeah.
And how did that bring you, like, do you believe in that too? Like, is there a level where they need specialization when it comes to their prep and their training?
I think so, yeah. Like, I mean, it definitely helps to have a sport whatever, chiro, physio, whatever, working with athletes. But as an analogy, it's like a mechanic working on a car versus like a mechanic at an F1 race. Like they're both mechanics, right? But one is really looking at a performance perspective and one is making sure that that car still runs, kind of thing, right? So it's looking at kind of some of the deeper things that maybe one could decrease risk of injury in the events that they're doing. So it takes a little bit of understanding of the activity or sport that they're doing, and then understanding how can we try to improve performance through some of the things outside of the game.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, I was
right?
gonna say,
yeah, because you're a mechanic for a car and you're an F1.
Yeah.
Right. So it's easily.
Specialization.
What's the biggest challenge you've found? Because there can also be attitude that comes with elite athletes. Like, what was your biggest challenge to overcome when it comes to dealing with athletes?
Well, same, like a lot of stuff with elite athletes we see in general people as well. But in elite sport, people have opinions or attitudes, superstitions about what works for them.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't always match what we see in the scientific literature. And it's like, we know this is probably the better thing for you to do, but this is what they're comfortable doing, right? And so it's a balance of like incorporating what we know to be true, or like what the literature is telling us, and then what that's person's comfortable to do.
Oh, right on. Okay, that's true. So why the jump to track and field? Or are you a wakeboarder as well? Did you do track as well?
A few just different connections here and there.
Yeah.
So track and field, one of my mentors worked in track and field. And so then he kind of got me interested in it. And track and field's an awesome sport to work with because there's a measurement, right? So like I can say, you know, we're going to improve performance here, but in a rugby game, like that's difficult to perceive to say, you know, I helped
Very
this
true.
person do the score try or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
person runs 100 meters,
There's time.
and then you're like, that person ran faster after we just adjusted their foot and ankle.
Right.
It's like now we have a measurement to say this works for this person and this doesn't work for this person.
Right on. That's awesome. And do you deal with a lot of athletes at your practice here in Barrie, or are you more?
It's general. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely see athletes there, but I have everyone ranging from 10 years old to 90 years old.
Yeah.
Am I an
And the
athlete?
patterns are similar, right?
Or
Like
an
that we
artist?
see.
Oh my God. you're neither, pal. So you adjust Joey averages like Jeff too, right?
Exactly, yeah.
No problem.
He rolls his eyes when he's got to hit the Jeff section.
Well, I was gonna say.
Fuck, this guy's
Yeah.
back again.
Yeah.
So what about mental preparation? Do you deal with any of that on the elite level with the athletes?
Depends on the team that you're working with. I mean, it's not my area of expertise,
Yeah.
but there is a little bit of that I can kind of delve into. But on a team that has appropriate funding and the people who are experts there, like that's their role, and I'm happy to let them do that kind of thing. On the teams that don't have the funding for that, or maybe they just have like one person working with them, then it's a little bit of getting into that. But it's more so recognizing when things are like outside of my scope and then trying to get somebody else involved with it.
Yeah, for sure. And you must have some leadership aspects as well, because you're also the president and CEO of the student council and the student body at CMCC.
I was, yeah, when I was there.
Oh,
yeah.
you're not there anymore. Okay. So
Yeah.
how did that come about? Because that's no small task when you're trying to get through chiropractic college as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just always been like that person who's wanted to be involved. Like, you know, back in elementary school, I was on student councils kind of stuff. And then it was like an interest in sports, and I was always like the athletic director or whatever going through school. So I guess I kind of had an interest, and then I had a few friends who were like, you should be the person to do this kind of thing. So nudged a couple times, and then that got me involved kind of on the behind the scenes stuff at the chiropractic college, which was kind of neat. Like I was working with the president of the college itself and helping to make decisions for how the school was going to run that year and years afterwards. So that was a cool experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you're on the North American, the Central American, the Caribbean challenges, that's obviously, is that a level between provincial and Olympics? Like, what level did you take those athletes to those competitions?
Yeah. So anywhere varying there. So I would say those are national level to Olympic level athletes. And that's the name of a competition, North American, Central American, and Caribbean Championships, that was held in Toronto at U of T. And so like Jamaican sprinters come there, and they're Olympians who are probably going to win medals kind of thing.
Right.
And then there's smaller countries from the Caribbean that, you know, they may be Olympic athletes, or they may compete at world championships, but they're not
Different level.
They're not hopefuls for that. Different level of athlete, depending on the country that they come from, and depending on like it's always ranking for them as well, right? So sometimes
that's interesting.
they may not go to a certain championship because it's not worth as many points to them, and every time they compete, there's a potential risk for injury, right? So
They want to limit that.
they want to
obviously.
make sure they're there for the ones that are most important for them.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, anywhere in that range.
Yeah. I want to ask you about just, I'm going to get back to the elite training, but your chiropractic practice here in Barrie. Do you believe, and I want you to educate our listener and viewers, is chiropractic a preventative form of medical modality, or do you believe it's to deal more with acute injuries, chronic injuries? Where do you see it on that spectrum?
Both. I mean, I deal primarily with injuries. Like that's what brings people into the office. There is evidence to support out there that there is preventative maintenance type stuff that can decrease the risk of injury.
Yeah.
But most people are not willing to come in until they have something wrong with them. Yeah.
Buddy, me too.
You look right at
My chiropractor gives me shit every time. I haven't seen you in 6 months. I'm like, well, I haven't been in pain for 6 months.
Yeah. So often, somebody comes into the office and it's like, what are we working on here today? And, every once in a while, it's like, I just want to like have some maintenance or get something tuned up or whatever.
I'm like, hey man, I want to stick with maintenance.
But a lot of times it's like, I got this injury I'm dealing with. Yeah.
Imagine people said that about working out. I haven't seen you in 6 weeks. It's like, well, I haven't eaten a donut in 6 weeks. I don't
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what's it been, like 6 minutes for you for a donut?
Yeah. Hey,
Couple
whole
of
month.
months.
Yeah, I've made the month.
What were you eating in the parking lot when I pulled up in a Timmy's bag?
I was eating a muffin.
Oh, you look at your face, buddy. You are the worst poker player in the entire. Look
No,
at your
I
lower
didn't.
lips quivering,
I did
your
not eat a
nostrils are
donut.
flaring.
No, I didn't eat a donut.
I just got another baked good.
Yeah, it's got a different baked good. It's not
Different
a fucking
shapes.
donut. Yeah.
Isn't it worse than a donut in a lot of circumstances?
It's not a donut, dude.
Yeah.
It's not a donut.
Yeah. Because I know on
Fuck
leg
right
day,
off
you
with
can have
that.
a
You're not
couple.
cutting off my donuts.
Why are you angry?
You're not cutting off my
So
donuts.
This is like me when I got clean from crack.
I'm 2.5 weeks sober. All right, leave me alone.
You are edgy. Holy mackerel.
Get this man a donut.
Yeah, Christ, no wonder you're staying in bed till noon every day. Okay, so back to the elite. Is there another sport you want to get to? Is there another level you want to get to?
I mean, my dream one day is to be at the Olympics as either part of the host staff or part of like Team Canada's medical committee. So that's something that I'll be working towards. And just being at the Canada Games, like that was kind of a bit of a stepping stone for that as well. Like, same with these athletes like that are working their way up the ranks. It's the same way with the therapists and doctors that essentially were like earning points doing local, provincial, national, multi-sport games, and then working ourselves up to those international games as
It's
well.
almost like a form of networking, right? Like you get to meet the right people.
Definitely that as well. Yeah.
So what are you saying is SUNY's not going to have time for you?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will always have time. Don't break my heart like this. Already.
And there I had the opportunity to work with freestyle skiing, which was a cool sport. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, I mean, we have lots of ski hills around here too. So even with Freestyle Ontario or something, working with them for a little while. Yeah.
So is it an application process where you for the Olympics, or do they just say, "Hey, Chris, we saw what you did at the national level, at the whatever, the North American Games"?
I don't know the full ins and outs of it because
Yeah.
I've never been the one to pick the team kind of thing. There is an application process. So basically like they'll send out an application for what are called major games. And that's like anything from Canada Games to the Olympics that are happening over the next year. And then it'll be like anyone who's interested, put in your application. For us, the Sport Chiro organization puts forward the sport chiros that they think are going to be the best for it. And the Sport Physio organization does the same for theirs. And then Major Games Canada picks a team from there based off of, I think it's the chief medical officer and chief therapist that like kind of select from there. It probably doesn't hurt to know those people.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
But it's also a point system as well.
So what makes up the medical team? What modalities are represented?
Yeah, so sport chiro, sport physio, athletic therapy, sport massage, sports medicine doctors are the like sponsored medical people as part of that team. And then there's what's called a polyclinic, and that's basically where any medical services can be provided. So there's nurses and family doctors there as well at the actual games.
I find this so fascinating. Eh?
Yeah.
It's just wild what goes behind. Like all we see is Jeff competing.
Yeah.
Right. We don't see all the layers behind him that help
Well, it's
him
even
get there.
cool,
Right?
like, you talk about what modalities is there, but then on the athlete side, there's different modalities of athleticism. So it's just cool to see the behind the scenes as well.
Yeah. And that's leading into my next question is, so you have this whole team that Canada's put together behind Jeff, and then you got Jeff's coach. Is there an odds relationship sometimes there? Because his coach is going to think what's best for him, not the Dr. Grant, the Carol, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are times where it's like we have to take the coaches like away from the athlete kind of thing to deal with the athlete. Like that's like our relationship of talking through, this is what I think is best for you, having that conversation, him understanding what the benefits and risks are of this. Yeah. And, the coach, hopefully has the best interest in as well. And then likely they do, but maybe they have different biases that they're working with. And so, but it's not their decision to make, right? Like that's the conversation between the athlete and therapist or doctor. And then it's a conversation of supporting that athlete in whatever decision they end up making.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what games are in your future? What games are coming up?
I don't say I have anything on my plate right now.
It's got Jeff at 3:00 tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm
next week.
Toying with the idea of it's called the North American Indigenous Games. It's being held in Halifax. So I met people when I was at the Canada Games who are like the committee for that. They're like, come on out, like come help again. But it's also a balance of family as well. So gotta spend some time.
Because this are these paid positions when you're on the coaching staff?
So it depends. What I did here was called sponsored medical. So you volunteer your time, but you get like a per diem for food, and then they cover your flights and accommodations and that type of stuff. So there's no like additional cost for me to go, but
a lot of it is like the experience, right? Like you're getting that experience, and again, like networking and everything.
Networking, building the resume, right?
And like I came from a sporting background too, right? So like I just love being around the sports as well. So I mean that's part of the experience and excitement for me too.
Yeah.
Even if it's a sport I have nothing like that I know very little about, you work with it for a few days and it's like I'm suddenly into table tennis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Are they a different level? Physically, clearly, but mentally, are those athletes you're dealing with at a national level? What separates them from Joey Average? What separates the guy that can run 9.97 and the guy that can only run 11.1?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's dedication, whether that is like just specifically to their training, but also like sacrifices that they have to make in order to be able to get to that level, right? Like a lot of times money for them, like they're paying to go to these different competitions if they're not funded by like a national sponsors or a national sporting organization. So they have to give up that. Being away from family, another big sacrifice for them. So that's probably one of the biggest things. I mean, there are people out there who just have a specific talent and they go out there and do it. And then, that will get them so far, and then they have to dedicate to the training and stuff as well. But like there's stories of like Andre DeGrasse where he like basically showed up to a track competition in like basketball shorts and beat everybody who was in like speed suits, right?
And nobody knew.
Just naturally gifted.
Yeah. I mean, and then he carried on from there and did a whole bunch of stuff, right? And it's not like that just took him the whole way, but I mean, he had a certain
like a natural talent.
Yeah. And then what locally? So Simcoe Dufferin Track and Field, obviously the Barrie Rugby Club. What do you do for them? What's your role there?
So with rugby, it's like sideline therapist, so dealing with injury more so. And with track and field, it's more trying to help preventative or performance type stuff. It's totally different cultures too, right? Working with a track athlete, they're like, oh, like my calf is a little bit tight. Like, do you think we can sort this out? Whereas a rugby player is like, stay away from me.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
Do not take me off the field. And I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do. But
your arm is hanging off the
field.
It's like,
fine, man.
I'm good.
Don't look at it.
Put me back in, coach.
So different cultures across sports. But it's anything from being the first responder on the field to kind of check that base off, and then to treatment for injury or to improve performance.
Right on. And then, so this, let's say an application process, next Olympics come in. When you go with that national team, why were you just picked for track and field? Like, would you be now your resume good enough to say, okay, Hockey Canada wants you to come in, or Soccer Canada wants you? How does that work? Where are the
so the games are separate entities from those sporting organizations. So it would be like leading up to an Olympics is like a 4-year endeavor, right? So it'd be like you start working with them generally like after the last Olympics, and then you're gonna like build.
So
up
you have
with
four-year commitment as well.
a lot of times, yeah. Like sometimes there's just major overhauls and they get rid of everybody and kind of start over new, and it's closer than that 4-year period. But it like going into an Olympics, it's like that's the therapist that has worked with that team for, you know, at least a year going up to it. And many times they're working on more than one cycle with them, that they've been there for a long time. And so that would be like if you were the therapist for that specific team. And then there's the host medical or core medical for Team Canada. And that's like overseeing any sport, any athlete. And so sometimes like Hockey Canada, they're a big organization that would have a lot of their own therapists. You might not end up seeing those athletes because they have their own people that they're comfortable with. But then some of the smaller teams that don't have as big of funding, that's where they'll all go to the core medical people. So they're slightly separate entities.
I find that absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Like that's just, I can't believe that you'd be there for 4 years. Like here, my mentality was, okay, well, you get hired 6 months before and get to know the guys and the ladies and the athletes and ship you up. Meanwhile, it makes sense that you would be their therapist for that long because now you
learn their bodies.
Yeah, exactly where I was going. Yeah.
So they get comfortable with
yeah, what they're comfortable with, because all of a
Yeah.
sudden you don't want to be adjusting them 24 hours out of their event.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I was wondering where their personal coaches come in and like, Dr. Grant, what? No, we're not doing that a day out of.
And that's another thing where the comfort level is huge, right? Like when you have worked with them for leading up to it, like you and the athlete and the coach have confidence in what the outcome's going to be here, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like there are risks with any type of treatment that we do from any therapist, any doctor. So when it's the first time meeting somebody, it's like, you know, I have a pretty good idea that this is likely going to help, but this could actually make things worse, right? So you maybe don't want to do that your first time meeting somebody and they're going into competition, right?
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Anything else to add, boys?
Is there any because you work with like bodybuilders, right?
Yep.
So what are common issues that you see with bodybuilders when they come to you?
Yeah, I mean, bodybuilders, like I'm going to talk in generalizations here, so not everybody fits into this.
You are totally poking the bear.
It's a lack of range of motion that leads to those issues, right? And like even if we're trying to do our full joint range of motion as we exercise, like we're probably not. We're using like 90 to 95% of that. And so over time, that last little 5% just shaves off a little bit. And then a year later, that next 5% shaves off a little bit later. So, I mean, as an example for a common thing is probably shoulder injuries, that like they just don't have that range of motion to get the arm full up overhead. I know Jeff's been working on it.
He's got a good chiropractor. He's got a good chiropractor.
Greg, you want to try to touch your toes on camera for
We're
us?
going to save that for another day.
No. Do
Yeah,
it.
like he
Come on.
just showed his flexibility.
Straight up?
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Touch your toes.
I'm not going to touch my
Come on,
toes.
touch your toes.
Your hammies that bad?
What? My hamstring?
Yeah. Are you that tight?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did
Oh, yeah. I'm very.
FST
Yeah,
on
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
He cried
Yeah.
on my table.
I did not cry.
Yeah,
Well, you
when
cry- I
was
saw
It was
you cry
painful.
yesterday
It was
because you're.
painful.
back minor. He's like, oh God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I completely am aware of like my like lack of mobility.
He
Yeah.
needs-
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the thing is like that. So for all of us, we can understand to say, yeah, like shoulder mobility, I need this range of motion kind of thing. But it's like not just the shoulder, right? And that's where with working with any therapist, it's like trying to figure out like what are like the pieces that contribute towards that.
Right.
And like you have probably a pretty good understanding because I talked to you about that stuff for you. But it's like, does your upper back move?
Mhm.
Okay, check that off, or like that's an area we need to work. Like, do you have length of your lats? Do you have lengths of your pecs?
Yeah.
Does your scapula or shoulder blade like move
Rotate.
on your rib cage, and does it move properly, or are we seeing that like winging and
wing.
kind of tilting off? And then like you get closer and closer to the shoulder, and like the shoulder is actually like an extremely flexible joint. It has tons of range of motion. And oftentimes like the pain that we get there is a result of it trying to take on more load when like these areas aren't working.
Right.
So when someone doesn't have great mobility, like how do you know like who is the proper person to seek? I've had Jeff do FST on the past. I've seen a chiropractor in the past. Should people see a massage therapist? Like how does someone go about knowing the exact proper person to see at that time?
That's an awesome question. I think that one, it's like finding a good match for you. I also think that like across those categories, like you'll see slight variations, but the people who are like good at their job, whatever that is, chiro, physio, athletic therapists, I should mention osteopaths too, massage, like you're going to see a lot of similarities between what they do too, right? So it becomes a personal connection with that person, understanding what those like treatment options are available between all of them and what the similarities between all of them are. And then I would say probably the most important piece of like, it doesn't matter which designation that is like that you're getting a solid exam to figure out like what is the issue, right? Like, and any one of us are capable of doing that, but there's also like bad ones within all of our professions that are not doing that.
Yes, I went to a chiropractor and they were a family friend of my family's for years. So I went up until I saw you, and I would go in with low back pain, and there was no assessment. It was just lay down, and then they would crack me from head to toe, and then I'm done. It's 10 minutes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Didn't get to know you, your history.
Did I get
nothing.
relief? For sure.
Yeah.
But did I get to learn how to correct the problem or anything like that? No. And that's why I love Dr. Chris, is like, he actually he gets me to move around and see where the things are, and then he works through it and then gives me stuff to do on my own to keep that going. And that's why I will always.
And do you think sometimes, like, unfortunately, when people are deciding on who to see, a lot of the times it probably comes down to benefits as well, right?
100%.
Like what is going to be covered and what's not,
100%.
right? Someone might really, really need to see, say, a chiropractor, but their benefits cost. Now, I'm sure that if their benefits covered a massage therapist, it would cover a chiropractor. But I'm sure there's some situations where they're like, well, I can afford this because I'm only paying for 10% of it. Can't afford this because my benefits don't cover it.
Definitely. That's an important point to bring up. And I would say that you're probably right between like massage and chiro, like they're generally pretty similar, but like physio and chiro, huge disparity.
Yeah.
There are some that it's like, you have $500 for chiro coverage and unlimited physiotherapy. Yeah. And it's like,
so they're going to physio.
Why?
Why?
Yeah. Like we're essentially doing the same types of things.
Yeah, exactly. So some people might be settling for, like the second or third best option.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
So, but bodybuilding, do's and don'ts for exercise. Are there a list of exercises that absolutely they should not do? And is there some that you guys need to do this more often?
I can tell by the smile that he's like gonna.
Because I was often told by
here.
my chiropractor that the overhead military press is not a natural motion for the shoulder joint, and to avoid anything that creates overhead. Then we have Mitch on here that says that's one of the 7 fundamental movements is overhead press.
I mean, the short answer is I would say no.
Like not to do it?
No, like there is not a list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There is not a list of like, do this, don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It depends on like that kind of assessment for you, right? Like if you don't have the range of motion to bring your arm overhead, then you probably shouldn't load that pattern and put weight in your hand and raise it overhead repetitively. Like that is going to create an issue there. It just, it has to over time.
Yeah.
But like if maybe your sport requires it, say like a rugby lifter, like they need to lift people overhead. Yeah. So in order to do that, and in order to do that safely, they need to do that regularly, right? Yeah. And in bodybuilding, like you're looking to build that physique that is balanced, right? So to say that like you can't do or shouldn't do this overhead is like you're probably at some point going to end up with this imbalance where you have like maybe major development here and just like nothing in your shoulders.
Yeah, I think
like the opposite of like massive shoulders and just like a flat chest.
or twigs for legs.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that there is like a hard and fast list. And the same thing comes with like, mobility or whatever. Like you see it online all the time. People are like, bulletproof your shoulder, like do this exercise. And like it might work for like 70% of the people. For the other 30, it's like the exact opposite thing of what they should be doing.
Yeah, right.
So it's really hard to give that, just like this is perfect. Everybody should be doing this.
Yeah.
There's no one size fits all approach.
I'd like to do a question from the side panel here. Okay. So from the perspective of an extremely well-educated professional in your profession, when you look at like the Gen Pop, is there anything you think, life would be so much easier if you knew this, or like if you did this?
I mean, the first thing is like move more.
Okay, that's good.
Like, motion is lotion.
Yeah, people are not moving enough, and especially like young people are not moving enough. Like I'm just seeing kids these
Everyone's
days
got phones now at
melt
6
into
years
their
old.
chairs
Yeah.
like this, and then like they get off their phone and they go to their computer or their video game, and it's just like even worse and worse and worse over time. We sit in chairs a lot too, so I would say our hip flexors are generally in a shortened position a lot of the time. So get up and like stand up and reach backwards, or like when you try to walk, like think about like squeezing your butt and like pushing your legs back behind you. Just like get into those opposite positions that you're not doing as often.
Love it. Love it. Okay, you ready? You have
Yeah.
to be a part of this, Dr. Grant. Sorry, buddy. But
Okay.
I hate to
Rapid
expose you
fire.
to it.
Rapid fire questions. Yeah. The
Yeah.
best.
Finish this phrase. The weight of my heart is.
I don't even know where to begin with that.
The weight of my heart is fucking heavy.
No. Wait. The way to my heart. Sorry.
Oh, the weight of my
Oh,
heart.
the weight of my
Yeah,
heart.
Sorry.
I thought you said weight
apologize.
too.
It's still the Grey Goose from last night, guys. Yeah.
The weight of my
weight
heart.
Of my heart is, well, there's two things. One's inappropriate. So,
OnlyFans.
Food.
So go to the OnlyFans. That's what I thought you were going to say was food.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Corey?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say like sports.
Sports?
Yeah, actually, those are great answers. I would have to say food though too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I thought food would be the most popular one. I'm going to skip that one. What's your most strongly
Wait,
held
why?
belief? No, we're not going there. What's your, due to current and recent events, we won't ask that question. What is your most strongly held belief?
I'll say everything in moderation.
Oh, I like that.
I like that one too.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
You're good with that
Yeah,
too? You're
yeah.
nothing original?
No, I like-
Okay. How many provinces have more than one word in their name?
3. 4.
He's going east to west right now.
Yeah. I think 4.
2.
5.
5.
British Columbia.
British Columbia, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI.
Oh, PEI. Fuck that place.
It's so small it doesn't
It's
count,
so
right, Jeff?
small. It's like Uranus. Or no, Pluto.
Pluto.
Wait, it's like his Uranus. It's so small.
Okay. What's your favorite thing to eat at Easter dinner?
Oh, gravy.
Gravy.
Just great.
Just gravy. Just a bowl of gravy.
Yeah,
no
just
potatoes,
gravy.
no
Yeah,
turkey,
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Just desserts straight up. My
Oh, nice.
Yeah, whatever people have
family's
to-
always making desserts. Grandma used to make pies, all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with I'm gonna go with turkey and gravy.
Are you going to put like gravy on the desserts? Just gravy.
I have been known to literally drink the gravy.
That's disgusting.
If it's
explains a
good
lot, too.
gravy,
That's disgusting.
I'll fucking slam it back.
What was your last Halloween costume you wore?
Thor.
Oh, I was an athlete.
Oh, there's a shocker. Wait, let me guess. A Dallas Cowboy jersey over here.
No, I
No,
had
he showed up to work with like the
short.
Oh, yes,
the
he did.
shorts, and
Yes,
he wore
I do
it for
remember that.
Fucking 1 hour.
Because no one else had costumes.
Yeah.
Yours
Yeah.
was a fucking jacket.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
Thor.
it was Thor.
So it was just a
Actually,
jacket.
Ben had the best costume when he came in as the Joker. Do you remember seeing him that day?
I remember.
It
Yeah.
was friggin' phenomenal.
Yeah.
You don't remember?
I couldn't remember, but I was a safari ranger. My son was a little lion.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
So my daughter's first Halloween costume, I was cheap. She was like 6 months old. I'm like, I'm not fucking buying this baby a costume. She's not even going
This baby.
yeah, yeah.
So I wrapped her in tinfoil and put her on a baking sheet, and she was leftovers.
See, that's
She
good.
still fucking
My mom
gives me
went.
shit for it.
My mom one time, she went to work. She was put on a garbage bag and said she was white trash.
Oh my god, oh, that's so bad. Is double dipping ever acceptable at a party?
Yes.
Yeah.
I happen to agree with that.
If it's like if you're all
Dr. Grant does
close
not agree with
friends
us
and
right
stuff.
I was gonna agree, and then you said at a party, and I was like,
Yeah,
But
no.
it depends on who you're with. If
Like,
I'm
if it's a family thing, fuck yeah. But if it's like if you're a bunch of random people, no, I will not double dip.
I'll
Buddy.
condone the dip, eat,
and then
then-
turn it.
Oh, then turn it.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally agree. I get the chip slapped out of my hand by Tammy if I try to do that. All right, the last one was a tough one, so I'm going to come at you easy for you two. Name the 7 dwarfs.
Sleepy,
dopey, grumpy. Sleepy, dopey, grumpy,
Doc.
Doc.
Oh man, that was the one I didn't think people would get. You have 3 more, boys.
It's been a while since
Dad,
I
you should
watched
have
Snow
this,
White,
man.
Todd.
Yo, they've never watched that movie, I don't think.
Sneezy, happy, and bashful.
Oh, Oh yeah.
I
Yes.
never would have got that.
Yeah. See, I just like Dopey. That's my guy.
Yeah, Dopey. And clearly
That's my
Doc
dude.
is your guy. Right? Thank you very much for being on the episode.
Thanks
I
for having me,
appreciate it.
guys.
We got to have you back because there's so many more questions I want to ask about the national team and dealing with athletes. And but thank you
Yeah,
very
be happy
much.
to.
Appreciate it.
Sweet.
All right,
Thanks,
we'll see you in
guys.
the next episode of Culture Cast.
This episode of Culture Cast is made possible by Paul Sadlin Motors, your local Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Cadillac dealer on Bayfield Street in Barrie, and online at paulsadlin.com.
Breaking news! If you like that and you want more of it, go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other stuff.